Hi, I'm James Rogers, and this is Project Mindsculptor that I've been working on with Jace Alexander for the past year. Now, Project Mindsculptor originally started around a year ago when I was developing essentially what's known as Red versus Blues for UAT. Red versus Blues are essentially a hackers versus defenders event in which you have hackers that are trying to break into machines and people defending the machines against the attackers. Now, these types of events can take a long time to build and design. It was taking me well over 2 days to design each environment that I would be simulating with people. And I needed a way to automate this because I couldn't stand to spending 2 to 3 days of straight of my time developing these environments every time a CTF needed to be run for the clubs I was running or for UATX. So I came up with what was first a script that was known as Project Mindsculptor. And now the solution to this problem was a piece of software that is able to configure a network of computers to be vulnerable to different attacks on a network while also managing the look and feel of the virtual machines, which makes people feel like they're in a live fire environment and feel engaged in what they're doing. Now, why this is innovative is because you have people that need to learn how to defend a network, and if they want to learn how to defend a network, they can simply run this piece of code on a virtual machine, and it will configure it to be very vulnerable and configure it with simulated pieces of malware that sit inside the environment, and they will have to go in and get that stuff off of the computer. If an attacker wants to learn how to attack a machine, they can run this code on a virtual machine that they own and then try and attack the vulnerabilities that it creates, because a computer isn't just inherently vulnerable, the vulnerabilities are fixed. So we have to create a piece of code to make the computer vulnerable to these attacks so that people can practice it ethically. So that was essentially the solution. Now, I want to show you some pieces of code. So Mindsculptor last year around this time actually started out as a PowerShell script. Now, PowerShell is a scripting language in Windows, and it did a bunch of things. This initial script took me around a week, and it did different things like downloading files. It made every file owned by everyone. It created users on the machine. It allowed anyone to access the machine remotely. Now, I quickly realized after developing this 500 lines of PowerShell code that I wanted something better, something that I could have more control over what I was doing. So I went over to the language known as C++ and started developing everything in C++. Now, what I developed in C++ was essentially Mindsculptor.cpp. Mindsculptor.cpp is around, in total, across all the different files, is around, I think, 1,000 lines of code, or probably 1,500. Now, I eventually came to the conclusion that I didn't like the way this this piece of code was developed either. So I wanted to use more in-depth and in-control Windows functions. So I took these 1,500 lines of code, and that is where the current implementation comes in. So we have a piece of code called PowerTap. Now, PowerTap is essentially Mindsculptor, just it's named differently for, we'll just say, coding reasons. And it essentially does all of the same things, but it uses a different file. You can see that we import this file known as Enchantress here. Now, Enchantress is a piece of code I developed to help me make this. Well, it's around 1,000 lines of code in concurrence with all the different files that are in it, that essentially automates everything with function calls. We have things such as creating connections back to a server that allows you to execute commands, messing up the registry, also creating firewall rules. Essentially, I can call one line of code to execute all of these. So PowerTap is essentially our final implementation of Mindsculptor, and I would like to show that to you in a video here. We have a file called sculpt.exe. Now this file is now when you first run it, it'll essentially ask you for how many users, and that will be sent over, and then it'll start doing things on the machine, as you can see. Now, a lot of the stuff that it's doing is back-end, making the machine insecure for those with a trained eye, but a lot of it is also in your face, like what just popped up. Now, that's more of Jace's innovation right there. The pop-ups essentially are help keep a user's attention. The full box design is to make a newbie feel like they're under live attack from someone there. Even if there is no live attackers, they will still feel like they're being attacked, because you can have malware running on a machine and the machine look totally normal. So this is meant to be loud, to make it interesting to new people and advanced people alike. You can see all the created users here. And then if we scroll down, the recycling bin actually doesn't work. That's actually a weird bug. And to more highlight the different features, you can see that the internet's actually disabled. We've figured out how to take control of Windows registry locations to change the time to whatever we want it to be, such as red team o'clock, and recontrol this. The internet and everything you do on the machine is clunky, such as colors being changed that make it hard to use the system. You can see that the text is bigger. Now these are more UI changes to make the machine harder to use and more fun to do by new people. You can see that it just all looks weird and that nothing will work, even the internet. And then if we go around, we can see that things are just going to keep popping up. You'll have file names that are different colors and hard to read, and you'll have these weird black text boxes that you'll see here that pop up and actually disappear. If I, let's see, right here, if I can just find where they occur, because they occur on a timeline. I think it's every 5 minutes, so let's see what happens here. Right there. So if you watch here for a second, these windows pop up and they actually mass create files on the system. And it's to, again, add to that engagement of the users. And also, they can disable these tasks by finding them in the system, adding to the reverse engineering and forensics aspect. So this has been Project Mindsculptor. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Alright, hello SIP class. This is Jace Alexander with the SIP of Mindsculptor. This SIP was worked on by me, Jace Alexander, and James Rogers. So maybe you're wondering who more about me more, right? So, I am Jace Alexander. I am a network security major here, and I worked on the team, as you know previously, of Mindsculptor. The people who have worked on it, other contributors, are me, Jace Alexander, and James Rogers. Now, you may be wondering, well, what is Mindsculptor if you have no clue what it is? And what makes it so innovative? So, we'll see here is that my innovation claim, right, is the automation of look to create and streamline platform to make forensics and malware more interesting and fun to look at and mess with. So, the baseline of Mindsculptor is that it is an automated red versus blue environment for hackers versus defenders. It makes it a lot easier to set up environment, and if you would know, if you ever set one up, that RVBs take forever to set up. So, we wanted to streamline this and make it a whole lot easier for both sides of the party. Now, why you ask what my innovation claim is needed for? Well, I have purely automated all the tools to edit forensically and visually the files and make it to where it's more interesting for the forensic side of people if they don't like to just look at code and look at base malware injections. Instead, they can look at more fun forensic files, and it attracts more of the basic brand new people to the point of where it's fun, colorful, a lot more things pop up. It's not just behind the scenes purely and very quiet like normal malware should be, where it doesn't expose itself. It's very quiet, very low end. But this is part of the fun, so it's made to attract more. So now, if you watch the video of what we have here so far, I'll jump around a little bit, but as you can see here, we have part of it, we have the lol folder, we have the annoying, we have the death folder. So we have the application, we start it. As you can see here, part of the automation is the background, the giant font, the colors, everything changes, right? So we have the reroll application, once you reroll your colors if you need it. And then we have sculpt, which is Mindsculptor. Then it asks you what to do. And here's the pure automation tool of Mindsculptor running. It is doing everything itself. We are doing nothing at this point. We're letting it do its own thing. So as you can see here, it started making its tasks, its EXEs. It's all this fun stuff, right? To where normal malware won't pop up System32 echoing all these numbers. But due to the automation of what we've made, it does this. And it makes it more appealing, it makes it more fun. A little annoying, but that's part of the fun, right? So this is the part of the fun of the product. This is what it does. So as you can see on the right now, it is doing the image versioning, it's doing management tools, it's making sure it has all the things it needs. It's as once we've automated everything, James and I are doing nothing at this point. It is purely, as you can see, running its course. So if we go ahead a little bit, we'll jump forward. As you can see, it's restarting after it does all its things right here, right? Configure DNS, can't find the server, but that's fine. So we go here, firewall rules. Now after it's done setting up its base stuff, it will reset so it can make sure all the changes are done, make sure they're through. Then here we'll see it reset. Once it boots, we'll see that all the accounts that we've made by setting the preset number of 20 are there. So you can see administrator hacker 1 through 20 are in fact there in random order, just to annoy you, because a lot of people at OCD don't like that. But so you can see we log back into an account. Your recycle bin's corrupt. That's fine. Don't worry about it. We don't want to find it. But as you can see now, if we go down to the clock, network is there. The clock is all changed, saying we control. And as you can see, base, everything looks like a normal Windows 7 box. But actually, it's infected with malware, besides the background, obviously. Infected with malware, and you have to figure out how to detect it. So my innovation claim proof here is that the automation is there. And it looks a lot more fancy and does a lot more stuff than normal malware. So we can attract newer people and have a lot more fun with it than just base malware. So you can see we test it, all the basic stuff. And can't find anyone because the network is locked out. But besides that, that's really it for the Mindsculptor. It's fun, it's enjoyable. Makes it to where this is our innovation claim. As you can see, here's the basic tasks running. Here's more tasks. There's more malware. It's just showing you at the end of what it can do. So, in conclusion, malware is an automated RVB field, and it makes it to where it makes the job a lot easier for red team and blue team. And so that's our innovation. It's a purely automated, nothing else. And thank you very much. I'll answer all questions over there. Thank you very much, guys.
Get tech respect
And be the next one
to make it happen.